How about wrong transitions? Hello, everybody. This is Felix, and this is the Starlink L5 live stream. Thank you all for showing up, and um, I'll do the audio test real quick. Can you hear me? Can you hear me just fine? And is the picture good? And I guess it is. Yeah. Oh, thank you for the super chat already. That is much appreciated. That's the coffee money for today. Yeah, where are you all from? I watched the chat for, I don't know, the last 45 minutes or so, and I saw people from all over the place. There's Greece there, and I saw, there's Finland, Sweden, Russia, Senegal, nice, India, Turkey, Argentina, Czech Republic, Netherlands, Germany, Texas, oh my god, London, Brazil. It is so cool to have you all here. Oh my god, this is racing. Lots of Australians again, Aussies in the house, very cool. Yeah, well, how are you all doing with coronavirus? I know it's a topic that's all over the place right now, but it's kind of, yeah, it's keeping the world busy. Even NASA has announced something recently that that they have a few facilities already at stage 3 of alert, and it's crazy. Another super chat. Thank you very much. Looks like Japan. Have some more coffee from Japan. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for streaming. Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks for showing up. And yeah, this is the launch number 5 for Starlink already, which is crazy because that'll bring up the operational satellites up to 300. I know there are technically, I think, 352 up there right now, including the 2 test satellites, A and B. But production satellites, the ones that are going to provide the service, it's going up to 300 today, which is insane considering that how long they've been launching these satellites. That is just crazy. Thank you for the super chat, Robert. That's much appreciated. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, as you know, I've been in the States, and I've been checking out Kennedy Space Center, and I turned every stone. You're going to see a lot of that on Monday's episode, which is going to be the longest episode I've ever done. So you're in for a treat there. I'm going to show you a little recap of Kennedy Space Center and my private tour I did with Maria Pointer, going all the way around the construction site. Sadly, I wasn't able to stream from there because I don't know how Gene from South Padre does it, but my reception there was really poor, so I wasn't able to stream from there. But maybe you caught my 2 live streams from the launch site. I really enjoyed doing that. That was just, it's an experience to be there live, to go so close to what they're doing there, and to see it and feel it and hear it. It was just incredible. It kind of, yeah, maybe was the best trip I've ever done to the States. Well, Alaska was really nice too, but that wasn't that much about rockets. I've got more super chats. Thank you very much, Christopher and Peter. Yeah, it's a pleasure to do these live streams every time. I was looking forward to this one because I haven't done a live stream in, like, I don't know, 4 weeks, 6 weeks or something. So yeah, been really busy lately. So but I'm refreshed, and I just made it out of the country, which is insane as well. Just after I left and arrived in Germany again, they closed the borders basically in Germany. Everything's closed down as well. Not the borders, not yet, but our kids are staying at home because the schools are closed, and it's kind of crazy, but we'll see how this evolves. And today is about rocket launches and not about Corona. We have a lot of that on the media anyway. So let me read the chat real quick. You've been writing a lot of stuff here. Yeah, the ISS will be expanding to store the toilet paper. Yeah, it's crazy. It's the same thing in Germany with the supermarkets. Everything's plundered right now, and it really makes me feel strange. But hey, I'm a YouTuber. I can work from home, so everything's good here. Nobody's sick, and everything's fine, and so far so good. The village I live in is kind of on closed down mode as well. You don't barely see any people on the streets, and it's creepy, but there we go. Okay, we have a lagging video, somebody says here. Can anybody confirm that? Because it should be just fine. Looks like, well, the back end is telling me that the connection is perfect. So Lebanese guy watching from Senegal. That is a combination. Thank you for showing up. That is just awesome. No, I wasn't able to go in. If you mean Boca Chica, because they are so busy there. They just, I'm guessing they just don't have any time for any tours, which is understandable. Mike, thank you for the super chat. It was a joy. Sorry, it was a joy to have you with us. Sammy too. I don't know if he's here yet. Might be missing it. I saw some message on the Discord earlier. It was a joy to have you with us, Mike, and Jama too. If you're watching, it was a blast. Thank you so much, and thank you for making it down there too. I know what a hassle it was for you. So, yeah, awesome times. If you have questions directly to me, it is good to tag them with an "what about it," because I'm kind of the chat is going crazy right now. So, you've seen CRS-20 over Germany 10 minutes before the ISS had a visible pass. That is an awesome scenery. Probably did you see the second stage pass over? It was that'll be on Monday's episode as well. It was incredible. It was my first launch I've ever seen live, and if you haven't done it yet, and you're close to the United States, as soon as they open the borders again, it is definitely worth it. It is an awesome experience, and it is nothing compared to what you can see on my streams, of course, because that rattles you. We saw the launch at night, Starfleet tours. We were on a boat, and they turned off all the lights, the floodlights they had going while they were traveling out, and everything went dark. And when the rocket launched, it basically was like daytime again. And when the sound kicked in, whew, it's awesome. You're going to see it on Monday's episode. I cheered quite a bit, and Sammy recorded it all with a GoPro he had on his forehead. So I'm going to try to stabilize the picture as good as I can. I didn't film because I wanted to see the launch with my own eyes. It's the first time, and so yeah, that was kind of important to me to watch it not through a display tracking the camera. And so I didn't record, but I'm pretty sure you also saw the live streams anyway, so they have much better picture than what I could do, basically. Tim Dodd comes close with his tracking telescope. That is pretty awesome. But I had my smartphone and the gimbal stabilizer, so that wouldn't have been a good picture anyway. So, but we got Sammy's footage, and I'm going to show that on Monday's episode, of course. Yeah, Sammy rocks, definitely. Yeah, the live streams from Boca Chica were a blast. It was just awesome. You're gonna do Seeker. You're gonna do the 10-hour drive down to Boca Chica. I think it's gonna be worth it. Maybe do a stop, do a 2-day tour or something like that, or pull the 10-hour drive. It's gonna be worth it. It's especially when Starship and especially when super heavy launches, even just Starship, it's going to be so incredible to see that go up in the Texan sky. It's going to be a historic moment, that's for sure. Yeah, that's normal, Robert, that people are watching and nobody's liking. So if you know where the like button is, press it. It really helps the stream to go up in the list and shows it to more people. So the algorithm picks it up, and every like counts to push the stream a little bit further up in the list on YouTube. So if you like it, it'll help others to find the stream. Yep. Retirement, so you got a lot of time. That's always good. I was kind of shelling out the time to go to the US, but it was worth it. It is incredible. No, Rich BL1. There is now no official information, and it's just my guess that they might be closing down Highway 4. It could also be open. We don't know anything about that yet. Oh, and there's my little son coming in with his dinosaur toy. Alex, ich habe gerade im... Yeah, there we go. That's what happens when you got 3 kids. Yeah. Danke sehr. You brought me a dinosaur. Machst du die Türe zu? Türe zu? Danke sehr. And there he goes again. That's how it goes. Let me just... Oh yeah, give me a second. I wanted to do something real quick. 14, 22, start. We'll have to change the format here. There we go, that should do the trick. I'm bringing up the countdown again. There it is, just gotta shift it a little bit over. That is the countdown to when the rocket will launch, so that'll keep us informed a little bit better than... So let me switch back to the chats. There we go. Yeah, you can't always be there, Robert. It's all good. Oh yeah. Of course, my kids they speak a few words of English already, but that's not that much. So yeah, of course I speak German with them. Thank you for the super chat, Tramp. Oh, Tramp! Haha. Yeah, I'm trying to stay safe. Like I said before, I'm a YouTuber, so I can work from my home. And that should help with Corona, but everybody else stay safe. And oh, he's bringing me more dinosaurs. There we go. Danke sehr. Ja. Danke sehr. Das ist so lieb von dir. Gehst du raus? Raus. Zu Mama. Guck mal da. My wife is trying to... I'll be right there. 1 second. I got more dinosaurs. That is so cool. Nein, raus, Alex. Geh raus. Lauf zu Mama. Doch. Dann nimm die wieder. Guck mal. Und zu Mama. Schnell. I'm sorry. I hope you like my kids. And they, of course, like me. And there's another dinosaur. There you go. He loves dinosaurs, by the way. Cheers. So he's gone now. And I hope he's gonna stay out of the studio for a while now. Okay. Let me get back to the questions here. That brought me out of the stream already. Bob Elvis is asking, how big is the chance that the first Starship on Mars will do a controlled fall over? Like use its cold gas thrusters to get horizontal onto the surface after a vertical landing. I haven't heard about that yet, so I wouldn't know. Is there any plans for controlled fallovers? I know that SpaceX is planning to use their first Starships as habitation and as storage and all that kind of stuff. They're going to leave them on the surface. So, but a controlled fallover, I think with thrusters that wouldn't be possible because it would be really, really risky to do it, and it would probably damage the Starships. So if they plan to do anything like that, which, like I said, I don't know, they would probably do it in a different way. I think it's more likely that if they don't use the standing Starships, they're gonna disassemble them and use the parts to build new stuff because it's stainless steel and you can form it and stamp it and cut it. So that would be, in my opinion, the more practical solution. Yeah, kids are great. Protect your kids from Dr. Dino. Who's Dr. Dino? My youngest son, that was Alex, who brought me the dinosaur toys, and he really, really likes dinosaurs. He's all about it. He watches Dino Dana, if you know that show. It's a kid's show that's all about dinosaurs, and he's got like, I don't know, 10 different dinosaur toys now, and he's all over the place with them. He even knows the correct names already, and he's only 2 years old, so it's pretty amazing. And he's really into dinosaurs, and he always likes to bring them to me when I edit episodes and that kind of stuff. He's always let me move that counter again. He's always bringing me his dinosaurs because he loves them so much and he wants to share them with me. Okay. In the next episode, learn everything. The next episode is going to come on Monday, of course. Normal schedule is going to start then. So Monday, Thursday is going to be back on Monday, and the Monday episode is going to be really, really long. I think it's going to hit the 20-minute mark because there was so much to tell about Kennedy Space Center, and probably I'm going to even have more content that I filmed while I was in the States on another episode as well. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible because I know that 20 minutes is at the limit, but Everyday Astronaut does an hour nowadays, so maybe you can stick through with 20 minutes. Thank you for the super chat, Crazy Dave. It was a blast to be there, and I'll come back in fall, which I'm already looking forward to for Super Heavy. All right, before the SpaceX stream starts, I want to just give you some facts about today's launch. So let me look up what Sammy actually researched for me, which is awesome that he does this every time. So this will be SpaceX's 6th launch for 2020. Same time last year they only had 3, so it's Starlink is ramping up the launch count here quite a bit. It's going to be the 6th batch of 60 Starlink satellites that are going to go up, but it's going to be only the 5th launch with operational satellites, not test hardware, because the first launch of 60 Starlink satellites, I had that on Twitter again when I tweeted that it's going to be 300. It is actually going to be 300 operational service satellites. It's unknown yet still if they're going to use the V0.9 satellites for actual service. So right now the count is at not 300, a little bit below that, but roughly 300. It's SpaceX's 83rd Falcon 9 flight and the 27th with Block 5 rocket, which is incredible, considering that Soyuz has 140-something launches right now in the books, which is the most launched rocket in human history, and, well, orbital rocket to say. And Falcon 9 is catching up already on that, which is incredible. The launch site is Kennedy Space Center from Pad 39A, of course, and it's going to be a drone ship landing 628 kilometers out this time. The separation is going to be 14 minutes into the flight, which is going to be rather short because the satellites are going to be in an orbit of 290-something kilometers, I think 298 or something like that. So we're going to see the separation, but we won't see the fairing catch attempt again today because the stream will probably have cut out by then. And so we'll have to rely on news from SpaceX. After that, probably Twitter would be a really good source for that. As you can see, I have a little new gadget here on the stream. It's right there. That shows Chris G and SpaceX tweets. It refreshes every 10 seconds or so. So if there is any news, we're going to see it right there from the two of them. SpaceX, of course, being slightly slower than Chris G because he's always on site. He's from NASA Spaceflight, if you don't know that. He's a reporter that is always at Kennedy Space Center, catching every launch. He did a pre-launch live stream already, and his job is, what he's doing there is awesome. So if you don't know him, tune in to his live streams as well. He's doing a really, really good job with that. It'll be the 5th launch of booster 1048, I think, today, which will break another record because there has not been a Falcon 9 booster doing 5 flights in its lifetime. And it's a pretty old booster as well, as it has had its first mission July 25th, 2018, Iridium 7 that was. And it's done 4 missions since then, SACOM 1A, Nusantara Satu in 2019, and Starlink Launch 1 on November 11th, 2019. So it's the second time it launches Starlink satellites into orbit, and it's a real workhorse. And I've had the question on Twitter recently. I agree they should come up with names, because if something has 5 flights, it should have a name, not just a designation number. But that's SpaceX, and we can't influence them on that. But if anybody from SpaceX listens in, I think a booster that does 5 flights deserves a name. So And another nice fact about 1048 is that it was supposed to do the in-flight abort test for Crew Dragon initially. And if it would have done that, of course, it would have been destroyed. So it can be lucky that it didn't get chosen for that. And so it can do another flight today. And maybe it's going to be the one that does the 6th launch in its lifetime after that. That would be insane and incredible. And I think the Block 5 boosters are set to do 10 flights in their lifetime. I'm not too sure though. I think it was 10, and so it'll be at half its lifespan on this flight. So it should be in its prime condition right now. It's well flown in. Yeah, we're gonna. There's gonna be a fairing catch attempt again with Mischief and Mystery, but like I said, it's not gonna be on a live stream, so we'll have to rely on Twitter for that. And if you haven't, if you're not following me on Twitter yet, I always post news about that, so that would be a good thing to do if you want to stay informed about that. Yeah, that's basically all the info that you need for today's launch. And we're an hour away, almost an hour away from the launch right now. And so SpaceX will be very, very busy in preparations for the launch right now. And yeah, that's basically it. All right, let me see if you guys got some questions for me. There we go. Serial number 2. The plans for serial number 2 were that serial number 2 is a... Franz had the question, I'm sorry. The plans for serial number 2 are already out the door, because serial number 2 was the stripped down test tank that I was able to see live being cryogenically tested in Boca Chica a few days ago, and it passed the test. It was all about shock the puck. Elon, on serial number 1, where they built the full tank section, they had a problem with the thrust puck. That is a piece on in the engine bay where the engines get attached. So it's basically the connection piece between engines and the test tank itself. And that wasn't correctly welded in. And so it flew off and the whole tank section said sayonara. So that was serial number 2 was the small test tank that they used for the thrust puck testing. And the next one's that's gonna be there is gonna be serial number 3. And Elon has already tweeted. He did so for serial number 2 as well, so it's hard to tell if it's going to happen now, but he tweeted that there is going to be serial number 3 is going to be it's going to do short flights, so static fire and short flights after that. What short flights actually means is hard to tell. It could be 200-meter hops. I think that's what they're going to start with, and after that the 20-kilometer hop is still planned. So but it's hard to tell if serial number 3 is going to do that. Serial number 4, he tweeted that is going to do the longer flights, but he didn't specify what's short flight and what's longer flight, so it's hard to tell. But serial number 3 will be the first, if everything goes as planned, that finally will take off in Boca Chica, and that is going to be a sight to see. So look forward to that. We have a question from Turbo999BE. How many Starlink satellites do they need to start the service? I heard what's needed is 400, so that would be 2 more launches, and SpaceX is planning to start service this year, in the second half of this year, I think, in Northern America, so United States and Canada. And so that should be rather soon. At the Satellite Conference 2020, Musk also said in an interview that he described the antennas for the first time more than it's going to be as big as a pizza box, what he said before. He's going to say it's going to be tracking. So it'll have actuators. You'll just turn it on. You'll set it so it has a view of the sky, and you'll turn it on. That's what he said is all the setup that's needed. And then the antenna itself will track the satellites passing over, which should be a cool sight to see. A Starlink satellite on your roof tracking satellites. That would be pretty awesome. And services are going to come rather soon. I'd say within the next half year or so, we should see service for the first customers out there. And let me tell you, as soon as Starlink is available in Germany, I'll definitely check it out if it is a viable option for me, because it's 20 milliseconds and it's available everywhere. And right now my internet it's okay, but it isn't the fastest. I'm supposed to get fiber to the home this year, but nothing so far. So we'll have to see about that. Thanks for the question. That was a good one. Seeker of Knowledge is asking, when the coronavirus dies off, people are going to stuck with a 5-year supply of toilet paper? Yeah, it's not a question, and it's pretty funny. But right now, I actually don't know if we should make jokes about corona. I know I've tweeted something on Twitter which was about the toilet paper as well, because it's a funny situation right now. But we don't know how it's gonna evolve, and right now it looks rather serious. It's compared to the Spanish flu, if anybody knows about that, and that did cost a lot of lives. So protect yourself, wear masks when you go outside, use disinfection, all that kind of stuff, and stock up on toilet paper, obviously. And maybe keep the jokes to minimum right now, because we really don't know what's gonna happen. If it's not that bad, later on we can crack a lot of jokes, but right now, if it'll cost 1 million people lives, it wouldn't be the best to make jokes about it. But that's just my opinion, of course, and if you want to make jokes about it, go ahead. Franz Wingard is asking, do you know if it's possible to not Starship Lego set? What do you mean? A Lego Starship? There were proposals for that already, and they all got rejected by Lego, I think. I think even Kevin from SpaceX did a Lego set of Starship, and he applied for the Lego. Well, there's this website where you can put your own sets in, so they evaluate them and release them later on if they like them, and it got rejected. So maybe once the first Starship lands on Mars or something, Lego is probably gonna consider that. But they have released recently. They've released an ISS, which is pretty awesome as well. It looks pretty good. What's my best rocket joke? Rocket joke? That's a good question. I don't know. Pete, I don't know any rocket jokes. Maybe it's time to look up rocket jokes. If anybody has a rocket joke, put it in the chat. I don't know any rocket jokes. Silvers Rayleigh is asking, will Elon continue stacking rings, or will there eventually be a larger mold to more easily make starships in one go and eliminate so many welds? I'm sorry. My take. It's already known that SpaceX is planning to build Starship segments in LA at the port. And there are already a few videos out there of equipment already being delivered and the building being prepared and all that kind of stuff. So I had an episode about that, mass production, Starship mass production. And I think that's what's going to happen. SpaceX is going to produce the Starships in segments with plumbing integrated already, and they're going to ship these segments to Boca Chica, and then they're going to assemble these segments and then launch them. That is a similar approach to how cars are being mass manufactured, because Elon really wants to go crazy about how many Starships he's building. So that means 2 Starships per week or something is what we're hearing right now, and that is really hard to do. You need an assembly line for that. An assembly line is always the quickest if you build the stuff in parts and then assemble it. For example, when a car is being built, the dashboard comes in with all the stuff equipped. The doors are already partly assembled when they're attached to the chassis and all that kind of stuff. The drivetrain goes in as one piece. And that's, I guess, what Elon is planning for the Starships, and it would make a lot of sense. So that is my take on it. And but still, it's going to be incredibly hard for SpaceX to find a way of making them that quick, because they are insanely huge rockets and it's all new territory. And right now they haven't even launched one. So that is going to be a task, and it's going to need a lot of workers and maybe 2 or 3 facilities like Hawthorne building the engines, and the LA port building the segments, and then Boca Chica assembling them and launching them. That would be a viable way, and that's probably what they're going to do. So that's my take. The Ring is asking, what is going to happen first? New Glenn brings people to the moon, or Starship brings people to Mars? Starship. New Glenn is gonna have its first test launches in 2021. I know they've been releasing a lot of videos lately, and there's gonna be my take on that on Monday's episode, because if you followed my channel, I like Blue Origin. Even though they haven't launched an orbital rocket yet, I've seen with my own eyes now what they're building at Kennedy Space Center, and it is huge, let me tell you that. As soon as you drive up to the visitor complex, you're greeted on the left side of the road with a gigantic plant being raised by Blue Origin right now. That thing is huge, and it's one of the biggest buildings at the Cape, and you don't build that if you don't mean business, if you don't mean it very, very seriously. But New Glenn's gonna have its first tests in 2021, and by then, if we're not really, really in bad luck, Starships are already gonna fly. And so that would bring the timeline in the favor of SpaceX. I don't know if it's gonna be quicker to Mars than Blue Origin to the moon, but I don't even know if Blue Origin is planning to send astronauts to the moon on New Glenn rockets. So the sole purpose of Starships right now is to send somebody to another planet. And so, yeah, I think Starship. But Blue Origin, like I said, is a serious competitor, and it's going to be epic to see New Glenn rockets fly, because these things are huge. Like 7-meter fairings and, powerful rockets. And so, look forward to Monday's episode. There's going to be a lot more about Blue Origin on that one. That's the second news topic, is going to be the Blue Origin update. You have a lot of questions. Let me look. Footy23. Hey Felix, what's the make and model of your telescope in the background? That's a question that comes up all the time. That's a Bresser NT150. It's a Newtonian 1500 millimeter 7-inch, I think, in US sizes. And it's a lot of fun to do visual astronomy with it, because I'm not an astrophotographer. There are two kinds of astronomers: the one that concentrate on taking pictures, and the other half concentrating on just seeing the stuff with their own eyes. And I'm the second category, because if you want to get a good picture of a galaxy or something, Hubble will always be better than any telescope that you could possibly buy. So it's all about seeing the stuff with my own eyes, and that changes your view of the cosmos. And that's why I bought that telescope a while ago. And in come warmer weather, I'll use it again, because in winter it gets really cold in Germany, and it takes at least an hour to set it up outside and to what's the English word for that? To put it to align it, and to get ready to actually view. And after an hour in the German winter cold at night, you're already frozen solid. So I normally just use it when it's a little warmer. So right now it's just sitting there on the set waiting for some more action. And I have some very, very good eyepieces with it. Bada Planetarium. That's something that most people forget when they buy a telescope and they don't know what they're doing. They buy a shiny telescope and then they are kind of disappointed why it all looks so stupid. It's because the telescopes, when you buy them, they save on equipment to lower the price of the telescope itself. So you buy a telescope for, let's say, $800 or something to have something decent, and then you have to add another $200 to $300 on top for good eyepieces, the ones that you want to start with. And so that's a tip I always give out: when you buy a telescope, already calculate a good eyepiece into the price tag, because you'll need that. The ones they come with are just not good. And so I got a good eyepiece, or 3 good eyepieces by now, and It's lots of fun. I can definitely recommend buying a telescope. If you got the time and the money, it's worth it. And if you want to have more information about that, you can actually go to Explore Scientific, to their website. I am an official Explore Scientific ambassador. And so there is a lot of information you can get there, and you can write an email to me because I'm an official Explore Scientific ambassador. Sounds so cool, and I'll be happy to give you all the necessary information about that. Berserker Claus. Man, you still look like Benedict Cumberbatch mixed with David Blaine. It's unbelievable. Thank you very much. Tybor, and that's the reason why I have this guy in the background over there. As you can see, he's my double. He's the guy that makes the movies for me. Tybor Gullias. I probably butchered that. Good morning, Felix. I would like to ask your opinion about the Starlink system. Can we expect a modern antenna combo, or do we need a satellite dish receiver for that? I said that like 10 minutes ago or so. At the satellite conference, Elon finally gave some more information about the actual user terminal, which is going to be an antenna about the size of a pizza box, and it's going to be tracking the satellites. So you can't use a normal satellite dish. You will need to have a Starlink antenna because it uses different frequencies and works in a completely different way than a geostationary TV communication satellite. But it'll track the satellites automatically, which should be a pretty cool sight. If you've got that on your roof and people walk by and they see the cool antenna track the satellites, that should be fancy. So yeah, there you go. That's all that's known about the antenna right now. Rocket joke. There we go. How many aerospace engineers does it take to set fire to your Guy Fawkes night celebration? None. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to light a bonfire. Yay! There you go. And another rocket joke. What do you call it when you fall asleep on a rocket? Spacing out. Yes, that's a good one. Thank you very much for the rocket jokes, everyone. Alex is asking, are they now using the X-ray machine to check the welds? Yes, hopefully they are. They have an X-ray machine on site in Boca Chica in the ring manufacturing tent. And yeah, they should be using that better because it is really necessary to check the welds on the inside, because there can be flaws on these welds that you can't see from the outside, and you need an X-ray machine to check that. And especially if you haven't completely figured out yet what kind of weld settings you're going to use. And there is a chance that SpaceX still hasn't figured that out completely. So yeah, check the welds with an X-ray, and I hope they're going to do that. Bob Elvis. Do you think it will be possible to make Falcon 9 less weather dependent so that there are less cancellations and postponements? What would it take to do that? Well, first of all, on the CRS-20 missions, on the CRS-20 mission, SpaceX expanded their envelope, as Elon said. They attempted a landing in harsh or in tougher ground wind conditions, and I was there. The conditions were tough. There was quite the wind going, and they made the landing. So they expanded the envelope already on that, but the rest is really hard to do. First of all, the problem is that you have the payloads. Normally, well, on a Starlink launch they aren't, but normally they are not from SpaceX. So the customers will be the biggest problem. They will say, nope, I don't want to take the risk. And then SpaceX doesn't have a payload. So that's a bit of a problem. And if you want to make it go up in tougher conditions, you would have to just give it more ability to steer, to counteract the winds. That's basically the only thing you can counteract against, though. If you have rain or cloud coverage or even thunderstorms or something insane like that, you can't really do anything against that. So the only thing they could expand on, and that's what they did with the landing, is wind conditions. And for that, going up, it would need to have more gimbal and maybe active RCS thruster use when it's going up, which would be kind of hard to do, because then you put more. The more equipment you put on the rocket, the less payload you're gonna have, and it's hard to tell if that would be even worth it, because there are like 2-3 launches per month right now from SpaceX, which is already insane, and there just aren't that many customers right now. So what you could theoretically launch 10 rockets, but if you don't have the customers, you can build out Starlink faster, but there also it's a budget question if they have enough money to do that. If they launch too many Starlink satellites and don't have the customers yet, it eats up a lot of money. So you always have to find some sort of balance between spending the money and getting the money back in again. So right now, I'd say it's not really worth it to make Falcon 9s able to go up in tougher conditions. It's just bad for those who want to watch a rocket launch because they get shifted a lot. But for SpaceX, it really isn't that bad if a launch gets shifted to another day or even another week or so. They have the time. So yeah, there you go. Jackie Pont. Hi Felix, how are you since your Boca Chica inspection? I'm great, thank you. It was awesome to be there, lifetime experience and lots of fun. And I traveled with some very nice people, Mike and Sammy and Jama, and I met Tim Dodd, who was awesome too. I had 2 hours or 2.5 hours of beer drinking time with him. That was a lot of fun. I met Julia Bergeron. I met Dave Lavoie. I met so many nice people there. And I even when I was in the merchandise store at Kennedy Space Center, people approached me saying, "Aren't you Felix from What About It?" And that is something actually, honestly, I didn't know before. I didn't think that I already left such a dent in the community, in the spaceflight community, that people would actually approach me saying, "Hey, you're that guy from the YouTube channel." That was when I visited the Coco site, the inactive Coco site where they built the Starship Mark II, which is still sitting there, and it's an awesome site. So if you're in Florida, make sure to check that out too. I was filming. And a security guard pulled up with a pickup truck, and I was like, "Oh, that's gonna be good." And he pulled down the window, and I said, "Don't mind me, I'm just a YouTuber filming for the audience." And he said, "I know who you are." And he was that ZZ Top beard, bald head, and gun on the side, and a badge and everything. And he said, "I know who you are. I watch your stuff," which is so incredible to me. It's an awesome thing, and I'm still totally not used to it. And thank you all for showing up, as I say it on every live stream I do, and thank you very much for all the support. It's crazy. It's a roller coaster ride, and it's getting crazier and crazier. I've got a interview with Robert Zubin coming up, maybe even get a tour with Tori Bruno at ULA and all that kind of stuff, and it's wow, Before I started the channel, I was just the same as you are, watching stuff from other YouTubers, getting informed about the space industry, and now I get all these great opportunities, and it's incredible, and it kind of changes you, and I'm trying to stay the same I was before, and I think I'll manage to do that, because I'm still so baffled by what this is turning out to be right now. So thank you for the question, and the Boca Chica trip was awesome. It was just incredible. Mo Guide, do you want to live in the United States? Yeah. I've got a sister in Milwaukee and a brother in New York, so I already have family over there. And I've been there many times in my life, and I know the places, and I've got friends in Maryland and in Alaska and all over the place, basically. And yeah, would be cool. Right now, I'm planning with my wife that we might be moving to Florida. It's not 100% yet, but it's really close to 100%, because Florida is a lovely place, and I would be trading insane heat in the summer for insane cold in the winter in Germany, which isn't such a bad trade in my opinion. And yeah, I'd be much closer to the Space Coast. I still wouldn't be a U.S. citizen, which takes a while, so I still couldn't attend the social invitations, but I could attend all the launches and talk to the people and bring a lot of information for you guys, so you'd benefit from it too. And right now, it looks like it could happen. We're already looking into where we could go and what we should do, and schools for the kids and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, might happen. Stefan R. Thamdrop is asking, predict baby boom in Europe in 9 months, and that will be called the Corona generation. Yeah, everybody's staying at home right now, so that might as well happen. We'll see about that. Thank you for the love. Up is Go is saying, will the original Starlink demo satellites be used in the constellation, or are they just being used for testing? It's unknown right now. There's no official information. And since there is no official information yet, my guess is they won't be used. They were different. Even from the outside, you could tell that it is different hardware. They looked roughly the same, but if you look closer, you'll spot the differences. And so it just might be that they weren't equipped for operational service, or they weren't fully developed yet. So my guess is they won't be used. That's why I'm always saying we're going for 300 right now today, and not 360, which would be even cooler. But well, give it a few more months and we'll be at 600 or so. So that doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think my opinion is they won't be used. So we're going for 300 right now. Roman Joe, was there a deeper meaning when you tweeted that Tim Dodd is kein böser Bube? Is he speaking German or something? He's, I think, second generation United States, and his family comes from Germany. And I don't know if I can say this on the live stream, but there was a joke involved with böser Bube. That was something from his past, and that's why that was an insider joke. And I really don't know if I can tell more about it on the live stream, so I won't, even though he won't be able to listen to it because he's doing his own live stream right now. So, but it was an inside joke, and it's got something to do with his past. And böser Bube means bad boy. So you can make your own conclusions on that one. It was a funny evening with him. A really nice guy, definitely. Josh French. Do you think Mars can be terraformed? And if so, do you think SpaceX will play a part in it? It can be terraformed, of course, but it is really hard to do. And it needs a lot of work, an insane amount of resources, and a lot of dedication. And so it is hard to tell if it'll ever happen, but it would be possible. There are quite a few plans to terraform Mars, all the way up to all sorts of insane plans like shifting its orbit or something. Theoretically, all of that is possible. In reality, though, there are just like 1, 2, maybe 3 different plans that would work. You could put out microbes that change the composition of the atmosphere. You could melt the CO2 at the poles. All that kind of stuff would work, but still, it would be a lot of effort. And if so, and if SpaceX is still around by the time that we actually start doing that, they would probably play a part in it, but it's so way out in the future. Terraforming a planet is still beyond our limits, in my opinion. It takes a lot of work and resources, believe me. Even though Mars is smaller than Earth, it is still an insanely big chunk of dirt, and changing that takes time. Well, just as an example, right now we're terraforming Earth right now. We're heating up the atmosphere. We're changing the composition of the atmosphere and raising the greenhouse gases, and with that the temperature. And methane is coming out of the permafrost and all that kind of stuff. So we're actively terraforming Earth, but it took whole humanity, everybody working together for now 120 years. So, and everybody worked on it. We're like 8 billion people right now actively working on the terraforming. So if you get 8 billion colonists to Mars and everybody works daily on terraforming it, it might work. But if it's just a few scientists and 3 starships that bring equipment up, and even if it's 100 starships bringing, or 1,000 as proposed, bringing equipment, it'll be a really, really tough job. So it's a very interesting question, thank you, but it is really hard to tell if or when that is going to happen. We have... Oh, that's Kyrillic. What's the English word for the Russian alphabet? I can't say your name, I'm sorry, but you've got a question. Hello, Felix, would you mind telling us a bit more about your background? As I remember, once you said that you have a pilot license. I do have an ultralight pilot license, and I love flying powered paragliders. I've also flown airplanes. You're never going to know where and when, because it wasn't really, I mean, I have an ultra pilot license. I'm not going to say more about that. What it was a remote place. I wouldn't have killed anybody if I would have crashed the plane. So I love flying airplanes, and I've been doing so for a while now. And My background, though, is completely different. I've been working in the media business here and there as a freelancer before at radio stations, and I corrected books, and I made covers for books because my mother was a writer. So I always peeked into media, but I never really was able to find something serious in there because it's really hard. There are a lot of people doing it, and it's all freelancing work, and it's really hard to live of it. So I never really pursued that, and instead I was a sales rep for an international company, actively selling stuff to customers, helping them with problems and all that kind of stuff, and it earned me a decent amount of money. But I hated the job. I might have been good at it, but it's zero creative or 90% less creative than what I'm doing right now, and I'm a creative person, and I love astronomy and space, and it had nothing to do with that. So at one point I just chose to quit the job. Everybody called me crazy. My family went insane about that, being like, I've got 3 kids and how could I be so irresponsible? And now I'm sitting here telling the story to a few people. Which makes me really, really happy that it worked out, because I went full-time YouTuber from day one, even though it wasn't able to support the family yet. We had a little savings, and I put a lot of work into the channel, and it turned out to be good, to be a viable option to support the family. I earn less money now than I did before from YouTube, and still I'm really, really happy, and it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. So sales rep is and I've worked for insurance companies before. I even made burgers at McDonald's back in the days when I was 20 years old, attending college, and tough times, but I needed the money, so I made some burgers, and I've done a lot of stuff in my life. Never ever something like this though. So I'm really, really happy to be able to do it. Let me just check something real quick before I go for more questions here. Just 1 second. Okay, all good. Let's do some more questions here. And as always, if you want to ask a question, make sure to tag my name in it so my moderators can actually pick it up, because I'm right now reading just the questions that my moderators give to me, because I wouldn't be able to read the chat that quick. So always tag, like the stream if you haven't done so yet, because that helps more people to watch the stream, because the more likes it gets, the higher it goes up in the YouTube algorithm, so you help others to find the stream. So like the stream. Thank you. Where was I? There we go. Casper te Heetbrink. That sounds like Netherlands. Am I right? Why does it take Blue Origin months and years when SpaceX only takes weeks and months to do the same? Okay. The same is hard to define. If you think about, if you're talking about Starship, it's something completely different, and it's a completely different approach as well. SpaceX is right now trying to find out how to, as cheap as possible and as quick as possible, produce the biggest rocket ever made. That's the reason why we haven't seen anything fly yet either, because they are not concentrating on flying hardware right now. They are concentrating on getting the basics together. And the basics about building a rocket traditionally are already known, like a Falcon 9 or a Delta IV or an Atlas rocket, or even the new Vulcan rocket coming out from ULA, which is going to be an impressive rocket. It's going to be huge. All these construction methods are already fairly known, so it's a different thing. I think the reason why Blue Origin is taking so long is because they are taking a very different approach. If you look at the videos they've released recently of about how they manufacture a New Glenn rocket, is all in clean rooms, robotics, scientists. It's not at all what SpaceX is doing with the Starship, and that kind of stuff takes longer. SpaceX took a while too, until they had the Falcon 9 up, and then until they had it landing again. That kind of stuff takes a while, even though SpaceX was really fast with the Falcon 9, because they have this insane approach of let's just try it. Others don't, and I think that's the main reason why Blue Origin and ULA and all the others in the world basically take a little longer, because they are not so They don't like risks that much. SpaceX is just like, oh, we'll just see how it does, and if we are able to land it this time. And they are not afraid to even release a video about rockets crashing on their drone ship. And so it's a different approach, and that's what makes them faster, I guess. But Blue Origin is close. It won't take that long until we can finally see a new Glenn fly. So watch my Monday episode. I have a good update there about Blue Origin, analyzing all their videos, and maybe most importantly, giving you some more footage of what they're doing at Kennedy Space Center right now, because it is huge. It is just, like I said before, when you arrive at the Kennedy Space Center visitor complex, just before you get to the gate, basically, you drive past Blue Origin's facility, and it is huge. It's gigantic, and I'll show you all of that on Monday's episode. So watch that, and maybe you'll understand why I'm saying that Blue Origin is a really serious competitor, even though they haven't launched anything into orbit yet. They are gonna, trust me, that is something. New Glenn is gonna be an epic sight to see. Hope to see a launch of that later on. We have 2 more super chats. Thank you very much, Mo Guide. You were my 100th subscriber on my account, for the record. That is awesome. Thank you. You've been around since the dark ages when I did my first uploads. Thank you very much for sticking around. That is awesome, because I changed the appearance of the show quite a bit, and I hate to say that I lost a few of the people that were there from the beginning, which is kind of sad, because they were very close to me, because then it was just very, very small, and I basically had contact with most of the viewers. But that's how it goes. Thank you for sticking around. Yeah, and I'm trying to stay safe with Corona, but trust me, I'm a YouTuber. I can work from home office, so that gives me a bit of an advantage. So we'll see. Corona is kind of crazy right now. It really is. Jorge Luis Brito de Faria. Wow. That is a cool name. Congratulations for the work of bringing information about the scientific advances of the new conquest of space. Yeah, right? It feels like a second space race right now. That is insane, and that's what I think keeps most of the audience watching right now, because there is so much happening in the space industry lately. Yeah, but that's why I'm saying that on my episodes. It's crazy what's going on right now, with so many different competitors trying to build new stuff, not the old rocket concepts, stuff that lands, stuff that's modular, stuff that's cheap, and all the way up to starships that'll if they work, get 100 people to Mars in a single flight. That's insane. Thank you for the super chat. Alex Matthews, do you follow the YouTube channel Isaac Arthur? Of course I do. Goes into a lot of details about all kinds of sci-fi, such as terraforming, which was mentioned a moment ago. Yeah, I do follow Isaac Arthur. Awesome channel. If you don't follow it yet, check it out, because the guy has some very, very interesting topics, and yeah, I like him. Definitely. Thanks. Roman Joe again. Would you take a visit to Mars for some time period when it will be possible? I would not, because I've got 3 kids and a wife, and a trip is 2.5 years, and it is, even if it was totally safe, it would be 2.5 years away from the family, because I wouldn't want to bring the kids. So maybe when I'm retired, but before that, I wouldn't. I envy those who will go, though, because it's going to be the first, and it's going to be, if it works out, it's going to be a historic moment. Not maybe even much more than the first footprint on the moon, because it would actually change our history if we would make a colony on Mars and not just put down a flag and take a nice selfie and do that five or 6 times and then go again. So, yeah, I envy those who will go. That's for sure. Thanks for the question. Scorpion 1112. How successful do you think the Starship project will be? If you would have to separate that into a few different segments. If the project works out the way it is planned, with 100 colonists going to Mars, reliable, fast, cheap, it would be insane. It would change our usage of space so much. It's hard to imagine right now, because not only would we be able to build a colony on Mars, we would also be able to put stuff into low Earth orbit insanely cheap. We would be able to build moon bases. We would be able to make scientific missions like 10 times bigger than what we have right now. James Webb is going to look like a toy compared to what you can bring up with a few Starship flights, assemble it in space, and build a gigantic telescope up there. All of that would be possible with Starships. So if that turns out the way they planned it, it's going to be insane. And I think it is doable. Because we've done it with all kinds of other stuff already. The first car that was built was insanely expensive, took years to build, and it was just one. And nowadays you can buy a Smart for like $7,000, and it's mass produced, and it's easy to use and cheap and reliable. Why shouldn't that happen with rockets either? So Starship might be the first chance of achieving that kind of level with rockets, and that's what I'm hoping for. And yeah, let's cross our fingers that it happens, because it would be incredible, like nothing we've seen before in all sorts of ways. Like I said, with utilizing space, using space, access to space, that's what it's going to change. Not even the Mars colony, which would be just an effect, a side effect of being able to quick, easy, and cheap access space. Then you can also build a Mars colony, but you can do all sorts of stuff with that. So that's the cool thing. And I've been talking a lot. Okay, let me just check something real quick again, so we don't miss anything. And if anybody has something to point out, because I'm really quick at missing stuff, but the SpaceX stream is going to go live in 18 minutes. We're already way into pre-checks on the flight. We already passed the SpaceX launch director verifying go for propellant load. We're loading RP1. We're loading liquid oxygen right now. Second stage is going to start loading really soon. Yeah, so we're getting close, and I'm super excited about today's launch, because like I said, I haven't done that, like, I don't know, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, feels like half a year or so since I did my last live stream of a launch. So, and the trip to, I'm really curious to see what it feels like to see it again on a computer screen compared to what I saw with CRS-20 live. Like I said before, if you're able at some point to go to Kennedy Space Center to see a launch for yourself, and you haven't done so yet, do it. It's really, really, really worth it. It changed my view about rockets in general, because they are powerful tools, and that just doesn't come across on a computer monitor. Even though it is, of course, a lot of fun to watch the launches, it is something completely different to see it live. So if you can, at all, at some point, go ahead and watch a launch live. That is definitely something you should do. Okay. Let me just go in here again. And where was I? Okay, seeker of knowledge. Do you have any additional information about the Chinese and Russian copies of Starship? I'm digging into the Russian variant right now. There is not that much known yet, and we'll have to see how it turns out. But that's going to be really interesting. And China has a little bit more information out already. I think it's called Link Space, the company that develops the Falcon 9 copy. You're kind of right, because it looks exactly the same. It's the same concept. But to be honest, to pick up that example with the first car again, when the first car was built, what did everybody else do? They copied it. And it's a good thing to copy a good idea. And companies doing it don't have to feel bad about it. I mean, Ford got world famous with their Model T because they were they just managed to mass produce it. But it was essentially it was the same thing that Benz built before. So it's always a good thing to copy and further develop an existing technology. So yeah, China is doing exactly that, and I think they're really, really smart doing it, because the Falcon 9 concept obviously works, as we're going to see today again, hopefully. And it's the 5th flight of a booster, which shows us crystal clear that that's the only way to go right now, is as reusable as possible. At least the booster, the first stage, should be reusable by now to stay competitive, make launches happen faster. Yeah. How crazy would it be if you would buy a car to get to the supermarket and get back home again and trash the car and buy a new one? Nobody would ever get the idea of doing that, and I think it's the same for rockets, and most of you probably do too. So yeah, Link Space is China, and Roscosmos is working on something too. But like I said, I'm digging into that right now, and that's going to be on a future episode. I had that on an episode before. If you search through, maybe the moderators can put out a link of my episode about reusable rockets, because I've mentioned quite a few in there, and that was half a year ago. So that's the last time I dug into that topic, and it could already be kind of a little bit outdated. Not that much though, so it might be worth watching that again. All right, thanks for the question. We have Fatal Killer. I've been here since day one. Keep it up. Thank you very much for sticking around. I can when somebody does comments on my episodes in the back end, I can see for how long they've been subscribed, and there are only a few who stuck around since all the way in the beginning. So thank you very much. That is much appreciated. Since day one. That's awesome. Steve, the therapist guy, were you able to visit Houston Space Center while you were in here in Texas? No, I wasn't, because CRS-20 got shifted back, and it launched on the 6th, where it originally was supposed to launch on the 29th, and so we had to do some rebooking of flights and hotel rooms and all that kind of stuff to make it happen at all. And I'm really happy that they launched on March 6th, because it looked like it could be scrubbed again because the weather wasn't perfect, but they still pulled through with it. And so I'm really, really happy that they did that. So there was just no time to do anything else except for Kennedy Space Center and then Boca Chica, because I really wanted to visit it. And now that Houston has a Falcon 9 booster, recently set that up, it would be worth it to even more than before to go there, and I might do on my next trip, but I'm not too sure. You go through Houston, so I might be able to do it. Yeah. Jean-Noel, thank you very much for the super chat. That is much appreciated. Thank you for the support. And I did enjoy my trip. It was one of the best trips I've done in my life, and it was insane. I've said it before, watching a live, there goes the SpaceX stream. Watching a live launch, I'll just turn this down a little bit and check if you can hear the audio. You should be able to hear the audio. I'm just gonna put this in the corner. Give me a second. This should be the right one. And we're missing the countdown. I gotta give me a second. There we go. And this is kind of, there we go. My monitor will be really far away now, but there we go. Now we can watch the SpaceX stream until they show anything. There we go. A little bit of music in the background, that's always good. So yeah, I enjoyed the trip. It was an awesome experience to do that. Watch the launch live, go to Boca Chica, go to Kennedy Space Center, see the Atlantis exhibition, Saturn V, meet so many nice people. It blew my mind. Thank you for the super chat, and you'll see a lot about that on the Monday episode. You have so many questions. Where was I? There we go. Whisper227. Do you think that he'll get into cellular phone network systems? You mean Starlink? I don't think so. Might, but I don't think so. Because if the antenna has to track, it would be really difficult to put a tracking antenna on a smartphone. It would have to have line of sight to the sky and all that kind of stuff. Maybe you could build ground stations that relay the service again, but that would need a lot of infrastructure and a lot of tech that SpaceX doesn't have yet, and so on and so forth. So I think it's unlikely. But there are a lot of different things that SpaceX will tap into with Starlink. Just think about ships, airplanes, the military. Of course, they are already very, very interested in the system. And then all the customers all around the world that don't have good, reliable internet access, and that is a lot of them. That's like 40% of humankind that doesn't have, maybe even more, that doesn't have really good internet access. So that is far enough customers, and they just won't need to tap into cellular networks. I don't think they're gonna do that. No, it's a good question though. Thank you. Show your hoodie. My moderator said, well, I'm sitting here, I can't show my hoodie. This is the new merchandise, and there's a stream going live. The new merchandise coming from my new merchandise shop that is in the works right now, and this is a new hoodie. Look at this hoodie. I'm gonna stand up for you. It's got the Raptor engine on it, but it is a much better quality than anything that Teespring could deliver. So I'm really happy to announce that really soon. It's not gonna be announced on Monday, but soon after that, I have a new merch store with a lot of new stuff and much better quality, and yeah. So let's listen into the stream here real quick. There we go. Turn the volume up.
In Florida. Hello from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. My name is Jesse Anderson, and I'm a lead manufacturing engineer here at SpaceX. You're watching a live webcast for our 6th Starlink mission and our 6th mission overall this year in 2020. For those of you who aren't familiar, Starlink is a constellation of satellites that can provide high-speed, low-latency internet all over the globe, particularly in remote or rural areas where connectivity is limited or completely unavailable. Today's mission will also be the first time we are flying a booster for the 5th time. Most recently, this booster flew on our 2nd Starlink mission back in November. In fact, the first missions of 2020 were also carried out by flight-proven Falcon 9s. Just like our first stages, we are also starting to reuse our fairings. Yep. Today, we are flying a reused fairing, which previously flew on our first Starlink mission. We'll also get a brief update on our Starship program and some of the latest developments that production line in Boca Chica, Texas. With that, all systems are go for an on-time liftoff this morning.
Hello, my name is Michael Andrews, and I'm a supply chain supervisor here at SpaceX. You're looking at a live view of our Falcon 9 rocket, our 70-meter, two-stage liquid fuel launch vehicle, getting ready for liftoff from our 39A launch site at Florida's Kennedy Space Center. While we have some time, let's discuss the components of that vehicle. The bottom two-thirds of it is our first stage. It accelerates the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere to the edge of space with the help of 9 Merlin engines.
Tell me if it's better.
And today we'll be attempting to recover that first stage for our 5th time on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You.
Thank you.
It's currently stationed about 350 nautical miles northeast of the Cape. And above that first stage is our second stage. It has a single Merlin engine known as Merlin Vacuum or MVAC engine, and it ignites after first stage separation. This second stage will carry our batch of 60 Starlink satellites to an altitude of about 440 kilometers above the Earth's surface. From there, they will use their individual propulsion systems to move up to their hunt of 550 kilometers. The Falcon 9 you see on the pad there has been loading propellants since T-minus 35 minutes. As a reminder, we use a hybrid mix of rocket-grade kerosene, known as RP1, and super-chilled liquid oxygen, known as LOX, to power the Falcon 9. Currently, our RP1 is nearly fully loaded on the first stage, that bottom two-thirds of the vehicle, and for our second stage, it's fully loaded with RP1. The LOX loading is underway on both stages still, and that will actually continue to be topped off until the last minute of our countdown.
Very good.
And at the very top of the rocket is our stack of 60 Starlink satellites. They're safely enclosed within the 17-foot diameter payload fairing. It's that pointed cone you see at the very top of the rocket.
And
This protects the payload from aerothermal loads, heating, and any kind of contamination during ascent. Now, once we reach the vacuum of space, we no longer need those as the second stage continues on its journey to orbit. As we have in the past, we'll be attempting to recover those two fairing pieces again with our two recovery ships, Miss Tree and Miss Chief. They're currently positioned in the North Atlantic Ocean off the coast of North Carolina. In terms of weather, we had some fog at Kennedy this morning. You can see it's pretty much all dissipated. Weather conditions are nominal, both at ground and upper altitudes. The Air Force range is prepared to support today's mission. So with that, the vehicle, our satellites, weather, and range are all looking green for an on-time liftoff just a few minutes from now.
As I mentioned at the top of the webcast, today's launch will be the first fifth flight of a Falcon 9 booster. And if we land it successfully, it will mark the 51st recovery since we started landing our boosters back in December of 2015. Right now, our turnaround time to refurbish a booster for reflight is roughly 8 weeks. Long term, we hope to continue to drive that turnaround time down even further, with rocket launches looking more similar to commercial air travel, where planes get basic checkouts, get refueled, and then head back out. Reusability is core to our mission here at SpaceX, which brings me to our efforts underway in Boca Chica, Texas. If you've been following our progress, you know SpaceX is currently building and testing its next generation spacecraft called Starship. The site has changed dramatically in just a year as we build up our production line. The local team has executed a variety of tests designed to push the limits of the vehicle. Next up are a series of static fire and short flight tests with our serial number 3 test article, and longer flights with our serial number 4.
Wow.
But ramping up our Starship and Raptor production line is what matters most. The design goal for Starship is 3 flights per day on average, which equates to roughly 100 flights per year at greater than 100 tons per flight. This means every 10 ships would yield 1 megaton per year to orbit. This is a significant effort, and we are looking for highly skilled engineers and welders to make this a reality. If you're interested in joining the team, please take a look at spacex.com/careers.
We're
it's caching
only
again.
6
I'm sorry.
minutes from
I don't know
liftoff.
why.
Falcon 9 is now moving into its final stages of the countdown.
Okay, let me turn this down real quick. That is awesome that they had a segment about Starship in there.
Flow of LOX into the vehicle. This helps us avoid any kind of thermal shocks to our system. Liquid oxygen is also what's creating the white clouds you might see around Falcon 9. We continue to load that super chilled LOX into the stage until just before liftoff. And when that liquid oxygen comes into contact with the ambient air around it, it boils and creates the clouds surrounding the vehicle that you see on your screen. The cradle, or the arms that you see near the top of the vehicle, will begin to open around T-minus 4.5 minutes, followed by the transporter erector retracting away from the rocket starting around T-minus 4 minutes. This is only a couple degrees that it moves, so it may be visually imperceptible, but it's enough room for our Falcon 9 to clear the transporter erector during liftoff. The first and second stages are both nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and oxygen. The first stage should finish prop loading at T-minus 3 minutes, and the second stage right behind it at T-minus 2 minutes. And at T-minus 60 seconds, be sure to listen for the call-out that Falcon 9 is in startup mode. This means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown, and we humans are no longer in the loop. The Starlink payload continues to be healthy. The Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket at the moment. Weather's looking good, and the range is still green for launch. So with that, there's nothing left to do except listen in to the last few minutes of the terminal countdown.
So I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit again. Starship commercial on a Falcon 9 launch. We haven't had that yet. It's caching again. I don't know why. I'm sorry about that. It's still live though. The small hiccups might actually be something from SpaceX. It's the coronavirus. It must be. It's incredible that they did a Starship commercial on a Falcon 9 launch broadcast.
If you watch closely, maybe you can see it begin to retract.
Yep. Strong back's going to be pulled back. And that tells you something about SpaceX being very, very, very serious with their Starship project. And it's caching again.
Watch it closely. Behind that liquid oxygen that's boiling to regular oxygen.
Skynet is in control, exactly. It's incredible every time to see the rocket breathe on the pad. It was really crazy to see that live. Even though it was quite the distance to the pad, it's an incredible sight.
Strong back lowers closed out. Load closed out.
What you see there is venting of fuel, because it's cryogenic fuel, and if it warms up, it turns gaseous again, and that's what's vented out there. So everything's normal with the rocket. If you don't know that yet, that is why that happens. And we're just waiting for them to light that candle, as Alan Shepard said. And we're gonna go for 300 Starlink satellites.
So RP1 loading and LOX loading on our first stage has completed. We're waiting for the LOX loading on our second stage to complete. And then after that, the startup mode call out. Two minutes to liftoff.
Stage 2 LOX load closed out.
That's what happens when your channel gets more popular. You get bots in the chat. Hope the mods are able to fix the problem soon, but the bots are really smart. So I'm sorry about that, but it looks better now. Yeah, 5th time for the booster, 2nd time for the fairing. So what you see there on the pad is mostly reused hardware. Only the 2nd stage and the payload itself are not reused, which is incredibly good.
Falcon 9 startup.
Okay, we got startup. Everything looking good.
LDs go for launch.
We get to go for launch. And then 3 seconds.
30 seconds.
3 seconds before liftoff, we got the ignition sequence, and then the incredible stuff happens every time.
T-minus 15 seconds.
There we go. Come on.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
Come on.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
No liftoff. Look at that.
We have an abort.
Abort they already started the ignition sequence. That is something we haven't seen yet. Look at that. No go. It's still sitting there, and it's definitely not going to launch again today. So because I think it's an instantaneous launch window, isn't it? Okay. Haven't had that in a while.
As you may have heard, we had an abort condition just prior to liftoff. We're going to listen to the nets, hopefully have more information and share it with you soon.
Okay. It's its 5th launch. That's something. It's hard to tell right now what it could have been. It was in the ignition sequence, so...
So launch abort on engine high power.
T-minus 15. Are they going to attempt a second launch? Is it instantaneous? I don't know from the top of my head. Is it an instantaneous launch window or isn't? Yeah, instant launch window, right? No, it's not? Several hours, okay. Well, they might try again then. That's gonna be interesting to see. See some venting going on there. Have we ever had that with a Falcon 9 launch? That would be the next interesting question. I think I've never seen an abort in the ignition sequence.
As you just heard on our countdown nets, we had a condition regarding engine power that caused us to abort today's launch. Prior to that, the countdown was proceeding nominally, but keep in mind the purpose of the countdown is to help us. There are 1,000 ways a launch can go wrong, and only one way it can go right. Given that we are overly cautious on the ground, and if the team or the vehicle sees anything that just looks even slightly off, we'll stop the countdown. Overall, the vehicle appears to be in good health, but that will end our launch attempt for today.
Okay.
Stay in touch with our social media and web platforms for that next launch opportunity. Hopefully you'll join us again for that next attempt. Until then, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. So let me just turn down that volume real quick a little bit and go back to where we actually saw the launch attempt. To see what actually happened.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
Yep.
Liftoff.
That was just nothing.
Disregard. We have an 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
That was half a second of thrust.
Disregard.
Well, as he said, okay. The system detected engine power problems. So that means one of the thrusters, or all of them, it's hard to tell right now, had not nominal thrust output. So the engine started up, and the system detected low power on one or more thrusters, and it aborted the ignition and shut down the rocket again. So that is what happened so far. Maybe we'll get some official information on what exactly happened with the engines, but as it seems, at least one of them had low power or high power, and the system detected it and aborted the launch. Haven't had that in a while. So SpaceX has a lot of mishaps lately, but it's a booster that has that had the fifth launch today, so, or should have had the 5th launch today, which would be incredible, but it didn't happen. Now the next thing to see is when the next launch window would open up. Does anybody have the information when the next launch window would be open? Is there any? Let me just check that real quick. There we go. That should be tomorrow, because I think there are no launches in the next few days. And so, yeah, should be tomorrow. Yeah, there's nothing coming up on at the Cape in the next few days. So yeah, tomorrow should work fine if they're able to prepare the rocket again. Let me just do this, play this again.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
Yeah, that's half a second or a second of thrust, and that's it. All right, there you go. That's how it goes with rocket launches. Sometimes it doesn't play as you would like it to, and there was no liftoff. I can turn that off. Sad but true. That's how it goes. Yeah, like I said, we'll have to wait for SpaceX to give out some. There's still the old tweet. And there's nothing from Chris or from SpaceX about it right now, so we'll just have to wait if they put out more official information. But I think my guess is already pretty good on that, so we'll have to see. Let me just look in the chat again what you guys have to say about that. Yeah, we'll have to wait until they announce a new launch attempt. That was only LOX, yeah. That could well be, but so Robert said that. But the engine's already spooled up, so there was. That's my guess too. There was no ignition, but the engine spooled up, detected that there was trouble with the thrust output, and they shut down again. Yeah, mid-startup shutdown, exactly. So yeah. Thanks. Yeah, nice 10. That's for sure. I got quite the 10 in Texas, one day out in the sun, and it baked me. Gene called South Padre Gene. He called it Texan rash, and I spent 6 days in Florida. Nothing happened, and one day in Texas, and I was roasted. Exactly. It was just as they are supposed to, Robert. Exactly. So the engine did the flight computers did exactly what they were supposed to do. They found an error, shut down everything immediately, and the rocket should be fine. Now the question is if they have to take them off the pad again to fix the problem. If so, I think there will be a launch attempt tomorrow. Would be an insane pace to take it off the pad, roll it back in, fix the problem, and get it back out again. I don't think that's something that's going to happen. It could be, but it would be really fast. See it frame by frame. Well, it doesn't really make a difference. All you can see is that it had, as you can see, I'll put it up big again, but there is not really anything that we can see. I've got it full screen now, and you can see half a second of thrust, and it's I think it's just LOX.
0.
Yeah, it's white vapor right there, so it could just well be that it's just LOX going through and no ignition.
Liftoff. Disregard.
Yeah, it's completely white. It's hard to tell, but as the moderator, SpaceX's new guy, said that they detected what did he say? Engine power problems. So that basically means that let me roll that back up again here.
You may have heard we had an abort condition just prior to liftoff. We're going to listen to the nets. Hopefully, have more information and share it with you soon.
Okay, and then.
Caused us to abort today. We had a condition regarding engine power.
Engine power.
To abort today's launch.
Yep. So that sounds like the engines wanted to start up, and they found out that they are not, or at least one of the thrusters is not functioning normally, and so it was a thruster problem. That is pretty much for sure right now, and I'm pretty sure they can't fix that until tomorrow. That would be, well, it would be really, really fast. If they can do that, if they can pull that off, hands down, that would be an awesome job to fix that in one day. So I'm guessing it's going to be like more like a few days to a week or so until we see that again. Yeah, I had a strange feeling about the launch too, because yesterday the static fire happened later than planned, and that's the reason why they shifted the launch to today. And yeah, it's true. I'm gonna give me a second. Put me here again. There you go. Now you can. In my OBS I can always see myself, so I thought you could see me and you couldn't. So yeah. So I'll since this was a really short thing, I'm gonna pick up some more questions if you have any, because I've still got time, and I'm gonna edit my episode again tomorrow tonight a little bit, but that's still far out. I was actually planning to watch and stream for a while. So if you've got any questions, even regarding this mishap, that you might want to discuss with me or with others, tag me, and my moderators will pick them up again. Okay. Jens Lehmann, another Flugbier against the dry mouth after speaking. Thank you very much. That is much appreciated. Thanks for the super chat. That keeps the whole thing rolling, because the super chats are actually the only thing I get from YouTube for these live streams. So they are. That's why I always say I do the live streams, because I get together with you guys. I don't really earn anything with it, and I normally don't gain any subscribers with it. So it's just for the fun, because I would watch it anyway, and why not watch it with others? And the super chats give coffee and Flugbier. Thank you very much. Hutton something says, you have a human factor in this business. You need this. In the start, you look too much Doctor Strange. Now you become how you are. It's due to your funny but serious appearance. My funny but serious appearance. I think it's a German thing. What I found being on the boat with the CRS-20 launch is that Americans love cheering, and I cheered too, don't get me wrong, but they were like, woo, it's launched, awesome. That is American. And when I was at ESA for the solar orbiter launch, well, it was with scientists, so that's a different story. But they were all like staring at the screen, and when the solar panels unfolded, because that was actually their big moment, because rocket launch, that's not what they're interested in. They're interested in getting the mission out and working, and so the solar panel unfolding event was really, really big for them. And then everybody went like, that's a little bit of cheering here and there, but that's basically it. And if you look at SpaceX, when they launch a rocket, they're like, "Whoa, we did it!" So that is a cool thing, and I'm actually looking forward to that when moving to the States, because I like the cheering. So yeah, it's a German thing to look serious, I guess. Yeah, it really is. Build out in Florida. What about Alan is asking, what about a build out in Florida? What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. Ian Sears is saying, while you were visiting, did you try to get a job? What does that feel like when you are that close to Boca Chica? Okay, I didn't try to get a job, because my job is YouTubing and educational content on YouTube. And the cool thing about that is I could basically, once Starlink is up, I can work anywhere but the poles, because I need a computer and I need internet, and that's all that I need for all my research, editing, recording, the live streams, anything I do basically is can be done from a home office. So I don't need to apply for a job in the United States, which makes it a lot easier, and actually was one of the main reasons why we were thinking about actually moving to the States, because even if we just stay for a few years or 10 years or something, and then we want to go back again, it would be pretty easy for us, more easier than for somebody who has to quit a career and set up a new job in a new country and all that kind of stuff. So that makes it a lot easier. And it was crazy. The feeling to be so close to especially the Starhopper. I was looking forward to seeing starships, and there wasn't that much, of course. There was a nose cone and a few test tank articles and that stuff, but seeing the Starhopper so close, it's just right next to the road, on the other side of the road. You're not allowed to go across the road, because then a security guy will instantaneously come up and say, please go to the other side again. But standing next to the Starhopper, taking a selfie with it, and that was something. Let me just see if I can find a few of my selfies here. I think this one. Yeah, look at this. Look at the smile on my face. Give me a second. I'll make it big screen here, and then you'll know what I felt when I was in Boca Chica. There you go. Look at this. I mean, that tells everything. It was a really, really cool trip, and it was lots of fun to be there. And if you haven't done so yet, watch the 2 live streams I did, because that pretty much conveys the feelings I had being there. It was awesome. Anybody being close to Texas, go down there and see it for yourself. Even if there is no Starship launch going on, it still is worth the trip, definitely. So that was that, being in Boca Chica. Yeah, I'll never forget it. That's for sure. What was your Dan is asking, what was your favorite meal while in the US? We went to a place called Zamparella's. It is very close. It's like a 5-minute drive to the port, to Port Canaveral, and it's a restaurant that has all sorts of food. I had mahi mahi. That's a really ugly fish, but it tasted so good with a lemon sauce to it. That was way up on the list of stuff that was really good to eat in the States. And we had burgers. We went to McDonald's and Burger King's on the way, because sometimes you just don't have the time to look for a really, really cool place. We went to Rusty's, which was really, really good. Had the meetup with Julia Berger on there. That was some really nice seafood right next to Go Discovery and all the other SpaceX ships. They basically dock right next to the restaurant. So when you look out the window, you can see them sit there with their fairing catcher nets and all that. Is so surreal. If you're close, I've said it a few times now on this stream. If you're close to Florida or if you're close to Texas, make the trip to either site. It is amazing. It really is good. It was a lot of fun, definitely. Highlander, thanks for showing up. Much appreciated that you're viewing the stream. Did I hear Felix is moving to the US? It might happen. Yeah, it's I'd say it's 95% chance right now that we will move to Florida, at least for a while. Like I said, I don't know how long we'll actually be staying, but I've got family there. I went there a few times. Florida is a lovely place. At least I like it very much, and being so close to the Space Coast just makes sense for being able to give you more information about what's happening, because when you're in Germany, it's a pretty long flight to go to Florida. And it might happen. I already got a US credit card to build up some credit score, which we don't use in Germany. We don't have any similar system to your credit score system, because we don't buy so much on credit, I guess. That's another thing. And so I'm already building some credit score, and we're going to be back in fall, in autumn for those from Australia, and we're gonna check out houses. Then we're gonna watch the Falcon Heavy launch that's gonna happen. Hopefully, we're gonna go down to Boca Chica again, maybe even Houston, and we're gonna look for houses in Florida. So yeah, might be moving to the States soon. Joff is saying, I want to thank you for your channel. My youngest daughter and I watch all of your content. We love your show. We love you, Felix. Thank you very much. You rock. It's awesome always awesome to hear that people watch, especially with their children, because in my opinion, it is really important to get children into this kind of stuff at an early age. It's not sure if they're gonna have a career in STEM later on, but if you don't teach them about the stuff at an early age, their chances are high they won't be as interested. So yeah, that's awesome. That's the same I do with my kids. As you see, they bring me dinosaurs, and last time they brought me a Berliner, or jelly donut as some others refer to it. So the kids are involved, and they watch the stuff. Helena, my daughter, paints starships for me, and I love it every time. So yeah, thank you very much for watching with your daughter. That is awesome. Bimmer Jeezer, thank you very much for the super chat. And you're thrilled that I'm coming to America. Yeah, I'm thrilled as well. It's going to be quite the adventure for us. But there is still a lot of stuff that we have to organize, arrange, get a house, see where we can put the where are good schools for the children, if we're gonna what we're gonna do with them, get all the healthcare system figured out, because you have a very, very different healthcare system in the United States, and it takes a lot more research to actually find something that's suitable and still affordable, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'll have quite a few meetups over there in the future when we move there. That's for sure. It was lots of fun to meet so many people over there, and everybody was friendly and nice, and it was really cool. Thank you for having me. All right, it seems like I was really quick answering your questions, and we're out of questions right now. So I really don't want to show more of the. Maybe I could show you a few more pictures from yeah, here's the one I was looking for. Give me a second. That was me in front of the Star Hopper, and look at this. I mean, how close you can get to it is just insane, and it's huge. It really doesn't come across on pictures. That thing is huge, and it's hard to imagine how big the starships will be when they're actually flying with a super heavy booster under them. It's going to be insanely big. There's nothing comparable to it, and you can just get right up next to it. And there's another one. Which one was it? Give me a second to find it. This picture here is really nice too. In this one, you can see down here, you can see the fence of Maria Pointer's house. She has this really big fence, wood fence going around it, and that's my silhouette down here. And you can here's the moon behind the clouds. That was really cool because it was shining down, and this is the launch site down by the beach, and it's shining upwards. That was just after sunset, and it was an awesome tour I did there with Maria. We went all the way to the back of the as you can see here, we went all the way to the back of the facility. That's the viewing angle that Boca Chica gal always has in her pictures, and that's what I was able to experience on my own by myself. Here we walked down these roads right next to it. You know, you can get so close. It's crazy. It's something. It's something you can't do at Kennedy Space Center, that's for sure. You get guided tours, and they're all over the place are restrictions, and you can't go here, and you can't touch this, and you can't do that. And in Boca Chica, yeah, it's a different story. That's another good one. Prepping tents. Oh, this one's interesting too. Let me get this up. Oh, that's Maria right there, and this is the famous Lab Padre live cam. This is Stumpy cam, and this is the main cam. And this is, I don't know how many hours many of you probably have looked through this camera right there. And I stood right next to, that's my car right there in Maria Pointer's driveway. And it was pretty good to be there. We have another picture here of me standing next to it, of course, with a nice Starship t-shirt. And we have Mike, who should still be in the chat. And that's Mike right there next to the pole, next to the camera. It was awesome to be there. It was really, really awesome to be there. Unforgettable. And here is a nice shot of Lewis. That's the guy who operates the camera. And as you can see in my face here, you can see the nice Texan rash. I was burnt by the sun. It was just insane. It was lots of fun though, and Lewis is a really nice guy. It was nice meeting him as well. I met so many nice people there. This is a shot from the whole meetup in South Padre Island at the restaurant. That's a panoramic here of I think all of the people that were there, except for me, of course. I'm not in the picture. It was awesome. That's Jean right here. That is Maria Pointer here. I think that over there peeking over is Lewis. And there's Mike right there, and Sammy is somewhere in the picture too. I don't know where. So yeah, lots of people showed up, and it's really, really nice. I'm really, really happy that this happened. All right, let me turn off the photo shoot here. There you go. All right, that's just a few pictures of thousands of pictures I took while I was there, of course, and it was an awesome experience to be there. And Mike wants me to say Gwynny, of course, as every time. Thank you for the super chat, Mike. And then I would love to do an interview with her, that's for sure. But that's high up in the SpaceX ranks, and it's really hard to get if you're not a Tim Dodd. It's really hard to get a hold of these people. First of all, answering a tweet to Elon sometimes gives you the possibility of maybe getting a reply, but he otherwise is really hard to reach. I've tried all sorts of methods, and it's hard to get close to him, which is understandable, of course. Give me a second. I'm going to see if you've had a few more questions. No, that was just... Oh, yeah. Free Jemmy. Did you watch Space Shuttle as a kid? I did, on TV. And I regret that I never saw a launch live. The STS-134, I think, is the last one that went up. I was in 2011, and I was 21 years old. I could have been old enough to go there, but I never did. So kind of sad. I would have loved to see a space shuttle launch live, but of course I did on TV and in pictures. And back then YouTube didn't really exist yet, so TV was my choice to go to. And I envied the people who went up with the shuttles, and it was terrible to see 2 shuttles being lost. I still remember Challenger, and I still remember Columbia pretty vividly, because I was already old enough to grasp what was going on there. And but also that got changed when I went to Kennedy Space Center to the Atlantis exhibition. That's going to be on Monday's episode as well. It is just, if you've only seen the orbiters and the rest of the shuttle configuration in pictures or videos yet, and you've never seen it for real, it changes your mindset about the shuttles when you see them, when you see that Atlantis exhibition at Kennedy Space Center for the first time, because they were huge and incredibly complicated, and that just doesn't, even if you know it doesn't come across on pictures. So yeah, Kennedy Space Center is the place to go. It was a lovely trip, and yeah, that's gonna be on Monday's episode as well. Of course, I'm gonna show you a lot of footage for at least 5 or 6 minutes. I know you always come just for the Starship updates, maybe Blue Origin as well, but on Monday, if you're interested, it's going to be the last topic in the end, and I'm going to talk a lot about my visit, about Boca Chica, about Kennedy Space Center, and all the stuff that happened. And yeah, it was something, definitely. Story on the aborts so far. Let me check that out. Thanks, Ben. Standing down today. Standard auto abort triggered due to out of family data during engine power check. Well, yeah, see, that's what I mean. The engines did the power check, and they found anomalies, and then they aborted the launch. Let me just retweet this real quick, so all the people who don't see the live stream still get the information. There we go. Thanks, Ben, for the latest info. That is, might even be there. Yeah, there you go. Haha. Yeah, the Twitter overlay right there. I'm not used to it yet. One of my patrons actually made that for me, and it is an awesome little tool to always be updated about what's happening. So there you go. It did its job. There you go. Ha! And I didn't even see it. Very nice. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the stream now because I just really don't want to show you more of the stuff from Boca Chica, even though I would love to, but I'm gonna have it on Monday's episode, so I don't want to ruin that. And since you don't have any more questions for me, I think gonna use the time to edit more on the episode, because there's it's gonna be a 20-minute episode, and I'll be very busy editing a lot today and tomorrow, so that'll give me a little bit more time to do that. And okay, as always, thank you very much for showing up, for tuning in, for watching the launch abort together with me, even though it wasn't a launch. It's gonna be hopefully we're gonna have an attempt later maybe this week. I'm not betting on tomorrow. I think that would be kind of too close. And like the stream, support me on Patreon if you have the money. It helps a lot. It provides me with additional funding, stable funding, most importantly, because I can count on it every month, and that is really important for such a small channel. And check out the merchandise store. Even though it's still Teespring, there are some fine designs in there, and look forward to the new merchandise store, which will have hoodies with 2 colors and college jackets and all that kind of stuff I can't provide yet, so that's going to be really cool. Tune in on Monday's episode, of course, which is going to be released 5 p.m. my time, probably, as usual, on Monday, so that is 5 hours earlier for United States East Coast. And yeah, that's it. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you on Monday. Thank you very much.
Light follows. Everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, light follows. Everywhere you go, light follows. Everywhere you